In the grim darkness of the far future, there are moments that defy all logic, all expectation, all reasonable calculation. Moments where the impossible becomes real, where the mathematical certainty of death is somehow circumvented, where flesh and blood triumph over ceramite and fury. This is the story of what happens when an ordinary human being, armed with little more than a lasgun and the Emperor's blessing, achieves the unthinkable. This is the story of what happens when a Guardsman kills a Chaos Space Marine. Picture, if you will, the scene. A battlefield somewhere in the vastness of the Imperium. A world whose name might be forgotten by history, but whose soil runs red with the blood of millions. The air is thick with smoke and the screaming of dying men, the thunder of artillery creating a constant backdrop of destruction. Somewhere in this hellscape of war, a single Guardsman crouches in what remains of a trench, his lasgun clutched in trembling hands, his uniform soaked with mud and the blood of his comrades. He is nobody special, not a hero from legend, not a champion of the Imperium, not even particularly brave or skilled. He is simply one of uncounted billions who serve in the Astra Militarum, one grain of sand in an endless desert of human suffering and sacrifice. And before him, advancing through the smoke and fire, with inexorable purpose, comes death itself, given form. A Chaos Space Marine, a traitor to the Imperium, a warrior who once served the Emperor, but now bows to the dark gods of the warp. He stands over 2 meters tall, even before the bulk of his power armor is considered, a walking tank of ceramite plates, an adamantium reinforcement. The armor itself is a marvel and a horror, ancient technology from the days of the Great Crusade, now twisted and corrupted by 10,000 years of exposure to the immaterium. Spikes protrude from pauldrons at impossible angles, the metal itself seeming to writhe with malevolent life. Symbols and sigils that hurt to look at cover every surface, promises of power and damnation written in the languages of beings that should not exist. The Chaos Marine's bolter, a weapon designed to fire mass-reactive explosive shells capable of tearing through armored vehicles, sweeps across the battlefield with casual menace. Each round in that weapon contains enough destructive force to reduce a human being to a fine mist of blood and bone fragments. The warrior himself moves with a speed and grace that seems to mock the laws of physics. Power armor servos augmenting already superhuman strength to create something that exists beyond normal human comprehension. This is a being that can crush a man's skull with one hand, that can run faster than most vehicles, that can survive wounds that would kill a dozen normal soldiers. This is a space marine, twisted by chaos, but no less deadly for it. The odds of what happens next are so astronomically small that they barely deserve calculation. Conservative estimates suggest that a single Chaos Space Marine can account for dozens, if not hundreds, of ordinary soldiers before falling. The layered ceramite plating of their power armor can withstand hits from weapons that would obliterate buildings. The genetic modifications that created them transformed them into living weapons, with multiple redundant organs, accelerated healing, and reaction times that operate on a completely different scale from baseline humanity. They can fight for days without rest, shrug off injuries that would be instantly fatal to anyone else, and their combat experience spans decades or even centuries. And yet, against all probability, against all reason, the impossible happens. Perhaps it is a lucky shot, the Emperor's grace guiding that lasbolt to strike exactly at the weak point where helmet meets gorget, where the seals of ancient armor have degraded over millennia of service to the dark gods. Perhaps it is the culmination of sustained fire, dozens or hundreds of lasgun shots finding the exact same point on the armor until even ceramite cannot withstand the accumulated thermal stress. Perhaps it is desperation and timing, a cracked grenade thrust into a damaged section of breastplate at precisely the moment when the traitor's attention is divided. Perhaps it is terrain and tactics, the ground giving way beneath armored feet, sending the giant toppling into a prepared kill zone where concentrated fire can find vulnerable joints and seals. However it happens, the result is the same. The Chaos Space Marine falls. That towering engine of destruction, that monument to superhuman warfare, crashes to the earth like a toppled statue. And standing over the body, laser gun still raised, is the Guardsman. Just a man, just a soldier, just one among billions who fight and die in the Emperor's name. But what happens next? What are the consequences of this impossible victory? What does it mean for this single soldier who has achieved something that statisticians would have calculated as effectively impossible? What happens to the man who has looked into the face of post-humanity gone wrong and somehow survived to tell the tale? The answer is complicated, and it begins with understanding exactly what our Guardsman has just accomplished. To truly comprehend the magnitude of what has occurred, we must first understand what a Chaos Space Marine actually is. Not the propaganda version, not the simplified enemy in a tactical briefing, but the genuine article in all its terrible reality. We must understand the gulf that separates the human from the post-human, the mortal from the transhuman, the soldier from the living weapon. A Chaos Space Marine begins as a Space Marine, and to understand what that means, we must travel back through 10,000 years of history to the time when the Emperor of mankind walked among his people and the Great Crusade spread across the stars. Space Marines were never merely soldiers, they were the Emperors, masterwork, the pinnacle of genetic engineering and surgical augmentation, designed to be humanity's champions in the darkest reaches of the galaxy. The process that creates a Space Marine is called the creation of the Adeptus Astartes, and it is a transformation so profound that the end result can barely be called human anymore. The process begins with gene seed, genetic material descended from the Emperor's own primarchs, those 20 demigod sons, who were the Emperor's first and greatest creations. This gene seed is implanted into a young recruit, usually beginning in early adolescence when the body is still developing and can more readily accept the radical changes that follow. What comes next is a series of 19 separate organs, each one a miracle of bioengineering, each one transforming the recipient further from baseline humanity. The secondary heart, the first of these organs, provides redundancy and massively increased cardiovascular performance. Should the primary heart be damaged, the secondary can maintain blood flow. Together, they allow for feats of endurance that would kill a normal human through sheer cardiac strain. The os modular alters bone growth, making the skeleton larger, denser, and capable of withstanding impacts that would shatter normal human bones like glass. The biscopia stimulates muscle growth beyond natural limits, creating bands of muscle tissue that possess strength far exceeding anything possible for an unaugmented human. The hemastomen alters the blood itself, making it more efficient at oxygen transport, and including factors that dramatically accelerate clotting and healing. A Space Marine's blood can seal wounds that would cause a normal human to bleed out in minutes. The Larraman's organ takes this further, releasing Larraman cells that can seal even major wounds almost instantly. The catalepsian node allows a Space Marine to sleep with half their brain at a time, remaining partially conscious even while resting, able to continue functioning for weeks without true sleep. The preomnor, a pre-stomach, can neutralize most poisons and toxins, allowing Space Marines to consume materials that would kill normal humans. The omophagia allows them to gain genetic information by consuming flesh, literally absorbing memories and knowledge by eating their enemies. The multi-lung provides redundancy in breathing and can function even in low oxygen or toxic atmospheres. The oculobe alters the eyes, providing enhanced vision in multiple spectrums and the ability to consciously adjust focus like a camera lens. The liman's ear enhances hearing beyond normal human range and provides additional balance organs, making Space Marines extraordinarily difficult to disorient. The Susan membrane allows them to enter a state of suspended animation if mortally wounded, potentially surviving for years or even centuries until rescue. The melanchrome alters skin pigmentation in response to radiation levels, protecting against exposure that would cause fatal poisoning in normal humans. The oolitic kidney provides additional filtration and can function even if both normal kidneys are damaged. The neuroglottis enhances taste and smell to the point where a space marine can track by scent and identify chemical compositions by taste alone. The mucranoid secretes a waxy substance that protects the skin against temperature extremes and chemical exposure. The Becher's gland allows them to spit acid, literally using their saliva as a weapon. The progenoid glands are perhaps the most important, as they grow and store the gene seed that will be harvested to create future space marines, ensuring the continuation of the chapter. And finally, the black carapace, the interface beneath the skin that allows direct neural connection to power armor, turning the suit from mere equipment into an extension of the Marine's own body. This is what a space marine is, physiologically. But we are not discussing space marines. We are discussing chaos space marines, and the difference is profound. A chaos space marine has all of these advantages, all of this superhuman capability, and then adds to it the blessings and curses of the warp itself. 10,000 years ago, during the Horus Heresy, half of the Space Marine legions turned traitor, pledging their souls to the Chaos Gods. Those who survived have been changed by millennia of exposure to the Imperium, that realm of nightmare and madness that lies beneath reality itself. Their flesh and armor have been twisted by the energies of chaos, often giving them capabilities that transcend even the already superhuman baseline. A Chaos Space Marine dedicated to Khorne might possess strength that far exceeds even normal Space Marine limits, fueled by the Blood God's favor and able to tear through armor with bare hands, enhanced by demonic power. One who serves Nurgle might be effectively unkillable, flesh rotted and diseased, but sustained by the Plague Father's gifts, able to continue fighting even with wounds that would reduce a normal Space Marine to a corpse. A follower of Tzeentch might wield sorcerous powers that bend reality itself, layering psychic protections over already formidable armor. A champion of Slaanesh might move with speed that makes them seem to blur, reflexes enhanced beyond even Space Marine norms. And their armor, oh their armor. Power armor is already a technological marvel, a sealed environment suit that provides protection against the vacuum of space, toxic atmospheres, and hostile fire. The ceramite plating can withstand hits from weapons that would obliterate concrete bunkers. The armor's internal systems monitor the wearer's vital signs, inject combat stimulants when needed, and conceal breaches automatically. The power source drives servo bundles that multiply the wearer's already superhuman strength, allowing them to wield weapons that would require a vehicle mount for a normal human. But Chaos power armor has been touched by the warp. The metal itself might be semi-alive, shifting and reforming to protect the wearer from threats. Demon-forged plates might be literally indestructible by conventional means. The armor might heal itself, corruption sealing breaches and regenerating damaged sections. It might be adorned with trophies of 10,000 years of war, each one a grim reminder of the warrior's terrible longevity and countless victories. This is what our Guardsman faces. This is the reality of the enemy he has somehow defeated. To put it in perspective, imagine being asked to fight a main battle tank using only a flashlight and a kitchen knife. Now imagine that the tank is also a highly trained special forces operative with reactions faster than you can process. Who can run at 40 kilometers per hour? Who will shrug off injuries that would kill you instantly? And who has been fighting wars since before your great-great-great-grandparents were born? This begins to approximate the mismatch we are discussing. The standard issue lasgun that our Guardsman carries, often mockingly referred to by the troops as a flashlight, is actually a reasonably effective weapon against most enemies. It fires a concentrated beam of photonic energy capable of cleanly severing limbs and cauterizing wounds through sheer thermal shock. Against unarmored or lightly armored targets, it is quite lethal. The power packs are easily recharged, meaning ammunition is rarely a concern. The weapon is reliable, relatively simple to maintain, and can function in a wide range of environmental conditions. For fighting cultists, insurgents, or even some alien species, the lasgun is perfectly adequate. But against Space Marine power armor, a single lasgun shot accomplishes approximately nothing. The ceramite plating is specifically designed to ablate and disperse the thermal energy of laser weapons. Estimates suggest that it would take dozens of sustained hits on the exact same point to even begin compromising the armor's integrity. And Space Marines do not stand still, obligingly allowing this to happen. They move, they take cover, they return fire with weapons that can reduce a Guardsman to constituent atoms. This is why the Imperial Guard's doctrine against Space Marine opponents, whether loyalist gone rogue or chaos traitors, emphasizes overwhelming numbers and concentrated firepower. The official tactical guidance suggests ratios of 10 to 1, 20 to 1, even higher. Bring artillery, bring armor, bring air support, and pray that the Emperor guides your aim. A squad of Guardsmen engaging a single Chaos Space Marine in anything resembling fair circumstances is not a battle. It is a massacre waiting to happen. And yet, despite all of this, despite the impossible odds and the horrifying mismatch in capabilities, Guardsmen do sometimes kill Chaos Space Marines. It happens. Not often, not reliably, but it happens enough that there are records, that there are stories, that there are veterans who can speak of having achieved the impossible and survived to tell the tale. How does it happen? What are the circumstances that allow baseline humanity to triumph over transhuman warriors enhanced by dark gods? The answer is never simple, never clean, never as glorious as the propaganda hollows would suggest. It is always desperate, always costly, and always involves a combination of factors that create that one perfect storm of circumstance where the impossible becomes merely improbable. Sometimes it is the terrain. A Chaos Space Marine stuck in mud or unstable ground loses their mobility advantage, and mobility is a significant portion of what makes them so deadly. Unable to close distance quickly or maneuver effectively, they become, if not vulnerable, at least slightly less invulnerable. Concentrated fire from multiple lasguns, all targeting the same general area, might accumulate enough thermal stress to begin compromising armor seals. It is the death of 1,000 cuts, each individual shot meaningless, but the aggregate effect potentially fatal. Sometimes it is heavy weapons. A Guardsman regiment does not consist solely of lasguns and hope. They have lascannons, heavy anti-tank weapons capable of punching through vehicle armor. They have missile launchers firing crack missiles designed for anti-armor work. They have plasma guns that can potentially overwhelm even ceramite plating, though the risk of the weapons suffering catastrophic overload makes them almost as dangerous to the user as the enemy. They have melter guns that can reduce even power armor to molten slag, though their effective range is measured in meters rather than the hundreds of meters at which a Chaos Space Marine's bolter remains lethal. When one of these weapons connects with a Chaos Space Marine, the results can be spectacular. A crack missile to the chest cavity might crack through the breastplate and detonate against the reinforced ribcage beneath, the explosion contained by the armor and transformed into a killing pressure wave that pulps organs even the Space Marine's redundant biological systems cannot compensate for. A lascannon beam might punch clean through a helmet, vaporizing the head within and ending the threat instantly regardless of how many backup organs the body possesses. A melter gun at point-blank range can reduce the entire upper torso to superheated vapor, armor, and all. But these weapons are not carried by every Guardsman. They are specialist equipment issued to designated heavy weapons teams or special weapons troopers. For the average line trooper, the question of killing a Chaos Space Marine usually comes down to opportunity, desperation, and luck in varying proportions. Consider the scenario of close assault. A Chaos Space Marine that has been engaged by overwhelming numbers might find himself, however briefly, in physical contact with dozens of guardsmen simultaneously. While he is butchering them with chain axe and bolt, pistol, while he is crushing throats with gauntleted hands and shattering bones with armored boots, perhaps, just perhaps, one of those guardsmen gets a hand on a vulnerable section of armor. Perhaps he has a grenade, a crack grenade designed for anti-armor work, and in his last seconds of life, he activates it and holds it against the weak point where thigh plate meets hip joint. The explosion kills him and a dozen others, but it also severs the Chaos Marine's leg, and even superhuman warriors cannot fight effectively while bleeding out from ephemeral arterial rupture. Or consider ambush tactics. The Tanith First and Only, also known as Gaunt's Ghosts, were famous for exactly this kind of asymmetric warfare. Reconnaissance and light infantry specialists, they excelled at using terrain, stealth, and careful preparation to engage enemies far above their weight class. When facing Chaos Space Marines, they would not attempt direct engagement. Instead, they would identify patrol routes, set up carefully prepared kill zones with overlapping fields of fire, and wait. When the target entered the kill zone, every weapon they possessed would open up simultaneously. Dozens of laser guns firing at pre-aimed points, heavy weapons targeting joints and seals, sniper teams with long-last rifles taking careful shots at eye lenses and vox grills. Even then, success was not guaranteed. Chaos Space Marines are not stupid, no matter what corruption has done to their souls. They understand tactics. They have fought for longer than most Imperial Guard officers have been alive, and they are extraordinarily difficult to surprise. But sometimes, with perfect planning and the Emperor's favor, it works. The Chaos Marine goes down under the weight of concentrated fire, armor breached in multiple locations, vital organs compromised beyond even his enhanced biology's ability to repair. And sometimes, very rarely, it is simply luck. A stray shot from a laser gun hits exactly at the moment when the Chaos Marine is turning, the beam finding the tiny gap between helmet and gorget at precisely the angle needed to reach the throat beneath. The thermal shock severs the carotid, and even a Space Marine's enhanced blood clotting cannot seal a wound of that type quickly enough. He has perhaps 30 seconds before loss of blood flow to the brain renders him unconscious, and in a combat situation, 30 seconds of impaired function might as well be an eternity. He falls, and the guardsmen around him, as shocked as anyone, pour fire into the fallen body until they are certain he will not rise again. Or perhaps he has been fighting for hours, and the sustained effort has taxed even his superhuman endurance. His armor's power cell is depleted, turning the suit from enhanced strength to dead weight. His body's combat stimulants have been exhausted, the glands that produce them needing time to replenish. He has accumulated dozens of minor wounds, none individually serious but collectively, degrading his function. His attention is divided between multiple threat vectors, and in that moment of maximum vulnerability, a guardsman with a plasma gun manages to land a shot on his reactor backpack. The resulting detonation is visible from orbit, and there is not enough left of the Chaos Marine to fill a standard issue body bag. However it happens, whatever combination of tactics, firepower, luck, and desperation made it possible, the end result is the same. The Chaos Space Marine is dead or dying, and standing amid the carnage is at least one guardsman who can claim, however improbably, to have been the one who dealt the killing blow. And it is at this moment that the real story begins. The first sensation is disbelief. The guardsman stands there, weapon still trained on the fallen giant, unable to process what has just occurred. His mind, shaped by months or years of propaganda about the invincibility of Space Marines, by horror stories of chapter serfs and common soldiers slaughtered by the dozens, by the very real terror of facing post-human warriors in combat, cannot immediately accept the evidence his eyes are showing him. The monster is down. The walking tank lies still. The nightmare made manifest has become nothing more than a very large corpse in extremely sophisticated armor. The disbelief lasts perhaps 3 seconds, 5 at most. Then the realization hits, and with it comes a cocktail of emotions so intense that many guardsmen who have lived through this moment describe it as more overwhelming than the combat itself. There is relief, profound and nearly incapacitating, the sudden absence of terror, leaving a void that threatens to collapse his knees beneath him. There is pride, swelling up from somewhere deep in his chest, the knowledge that he has achieved something that will be spoken of in awed whispers. There is horror, because he has just killed something that was, however corrupted, once a servant of the Emperor, a champion of humanity, a space marine. And there is fear, not the fear of the enemy he just killed, but a new fear, one that will grow in the hours and days ahead. The fear of what comes next. His squad mates are the first to react. Those who survived the engagement, who witnessed what just occurred, begin to converge on his position. Some are cheering, shouting prayers of thanksgiving to the God Emperor, slapping the hero's shoulders with enough force to stagger him. Others approach more cautiously, as if afraid that touching him might somehow contaminate them with whatever impossible luck or divine favor allowed this to happen. A few hang back entirely, staring at him with expressions that mix admiration and something that might be suspicion. The sergeant arrives, pushing through the gathering crowd, his face a mask of professional composure that does not quite hide his own shock. He looks at the fallen Chaos Marine, at the guardsman who killed him, and makes a decision that will have significant implications for everything that follows. He activates his Vox bead, connecting to the platoon command channel, and speaks the words that will set in motion a chain of events our hero cannot yet imagine. Command, this is Sergeant Harron, 3rd Squad. We have confirmed enemy kill, 1 Chaos Space Marine, brought down by concentrated fire. Grid reference 47902, requesting retrieval team and senior officer presence. The phrasing is important. He says concentrated fire, rather than singling out one trooper. This is partly accurate, as even in the most improbable scenarios, the kill is rarely the result of a single shot from a single weapon. But it is also protective, spreading the credit and the potential scrutiny across the entire squad rather than placing it all on one individual. Some sergeants would do this naturally, looking out for their men. Others would be following standing orders, because the higher echelons of Imperial command understand certain realities about what happens when individual soldiers achieve the exceptional. Within minutes, higher-ranking officers begin to arrive. A lieutenant, then a captain, then, depending on the significance of the engagement and the available command structure, potentially a colonel or even a general. They all want to see the body, to confirm the kill, to assess the situation. Combat engineers and tech priests are summoned to deal with the fallen Chaos Marine's power armor, which even in death represents valuable intelligence and potentially reclaimable technology, though anything touched by Chaos must be handled with extreme caution. And then, inevitably, come the commissars. These feared figures, responsible for maintaining discipline and morale within the Imperial Guard, have a particular interest in this situation. They circle the scene like sharks, their bolt pistols prominently displayed, their faces giving away nothing of their thoughts. They question the survivors, trying to piece together exactly what occurred. They examine the body, looking for evidence of how the armor was breached. They pay particular attention to our hero, asking pointed questions about what he saw, what he did, what he felt during the engagement. This is not mere curiosity. The commissars are performing an initial screening, looking for any signs of Chaos taint. Because one of the horrible realities of fighting Chaos forces is that exposure can corrupt. Simply seeing certain symbols can plant seeds of doubt or heretical thought. Extended engagement with Chaos warriors can expose soldiers to warp energies that might, over time, twist their souls. And there are documented cases of supposedly loyal Imperial troops being corrupted through contact with Chaos equipment or through psychic attack during combat. Our guardsman answers their questions as best he can, trying to remember details from what was likely the most traumatic and chaotic experience of his life. Did he hear any voices that were not his? Squad mates? No, sir. Did he experience any unusual sensations, visions, or compulsions? No, sir. Does he feel any differently now than he did before the engagement? Only grateful to be alive, sir. Did he touch the Chaos Marine or his equipment at any point? No, sir. The commissars take notes, exchange glances with each other, and make preliminary assessments. In most cases, they find nothing immediately concerning. The soldier appears shaken but stable, traumatized but not tainted. However, his name is now on a list, one of many such lists maintained by the Commissariat and, more ominously, by the Inquisition. He will be watched, not obviously but watched nonetheless, for signs of corruption that might manifest days, weeks, or even months after the exposure. Meanwhile, at a more mundane level, the bureaucracy of the Imperial Guard begins its inexorable grinding process. Reports must be filed. After-action assessments must be completed. Casualty figures must be tallied and transmitted up the chain of command. Our hero's name appears in these reports with increasing frequency. Private Jerem Kyle, Cadian 301st, 3rd Platoon, 3rd Squad. Confirmed participant in the elimination of one enemy Chaos Space Marine. Recommended for commendation. That last line, recommended for commendation, is where things start to become complicated. Because the Imperial Guard does recognize and reward exceptional valor and achievement. There are medals, honors, ribbons, and citations aplenty for those who distinguish themselves in service to the Emperor. The Honorifica Imperialis, the Macarian Cross, the Medallion Crimson, the Star of Terror, dozens of others, each signifying some particular form of exemplary service. For a common guardsman to receive any of these is to achieve a status that will follow them for the rest of their service and likely shape the remainder of their life. And killing a Chaos Space Marine certainly qualifies as exceptional achievement. It might earn our Private Kyle the Honorifica Imperialis, marking him as a genuine hero of the Imperium. It might earn him a Distinguished Service Medal specific to his campaign or crusade, with language explicitly noting his role in eliminating a transhuman enemy. It might earn him any number of lesser, but still significant honors, each one adding weight to his permanent record, and changing how he is perceived by his superiors, his peers, and himself. The award ceremony, when it comes, is a mixed experience. On one hand, there is genuine pride. Standing at attention while a senior officer pins a medal to his uniform, being formally recognized before the assembled regiment, hearing his name and his actions read aloud for all to hear. This is the sort of moment that recruiting propagandists dream of, the kind of image that will be captured by picked recorders and transmitted across the Imperium to inspire countless other young men and women to take up the lasgun and serve. His fellow guardsmen react with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Some are genuinely happy for him, sharing in the reflected glory of their squad or platoon, having been involved in such a notable kill. Others are jealous, having survived equally dangerous situations without receiving comparable recognition. A few are resentful, feeling that luck rather than skill determined who got the credit, or suspecting that the official version of events does not quite match what actually happened in the confusion of combat. But overshadowing all of this is an awareness, sometimes spoken aloud, but more often left unvoiced, that this recognition comes with a price. Because our Private Kyle has now been marked as special, and special means different, and different means dangerous. Not dangerous to his enemies, though certainly the award suggests he is at least competent enough to have survived what should have been an unsurvivable encounter. No, dangerous in the sense that the gears of the Imperium's vast security apparatus have begun to turn their attention toward him. The Inquisition, when they take an interest, do so quietly. Most Imperial Guardsmen will never knowingly interact with an Inquisitor, though the Inquisition's agents and informants are everywhere, watching for signs of heresy, mutation, or chaos corruption. In the case of a soldier who has been in close combat with Chaos Space Marines and survived, the interest is nearly automatic. Inquisitors of the Ordo Malleus in particular, those dedicated to combating demonic threats, take a keen interest in anyone with such exposure. An agent might appear in the regiment, wearing the uniform of a commissar, or simply present as an attached advisor from some obscure branch of the Departamento Munitorum. They will observe Private Kael, watch how he interacts with others, listen to what he says when he thinks no one of importance is paying attention. They will review his service record, looking for anomalies or patterns that might suggest corruption. They will interview his squad mates, his sergeant, anyone who has had significant contact with him since the incident. In most cases, they find nothing alarming. The soldier is exactly what he appears to be, a frightened, traumatized man who got extraordinarily lucky and is trying to process the experience while continuing to do his duty. The agent makes note of this in their report, marks the case as no action required, and moves on to the next item on their endless list of potential corruption vectors. But sometimes they find something, not necessarily actual corruption, not chaos taint in the sense of mutation or demonic influence, but something that concerns them nonetheless. Perhaps the soldier has begun experiencing nightmares, vivid and recurring, in which he relives the engagement but with disturbing variations. Perhaps he has started drawing symbols he does not remember learning, geometric patterns that make his squadmates uncomfortable to look at. Perhaps he has become obsessed with the kill, talking about it constantly, describing it in a way that suggests he took more pleasure in the violence than is healthy. When this happens, the response can vary dramatically depending on which inquisitor is involved, what resources are available, and how severe the suspected taint is judged to be. At the mild end of the spectrum, the soldier might be quietly transferred to a different unit, separated from the circumstances of his exposure and placed under continued observation. At the more serious end, he might be detained for enhanced interrogation, psychic examination, and potential mind scrubbing to remove whatever influence has taken hold. And at the extreme end, well, there is a reason that the Inquisition's motto is "Innocence proves nothing." If an inquisitor determines that the risk of corruption outweighs the value of the individual, the solution is direct and permanent. The soldier is declared excommunicate traitorous, a traitor to the emperor, regardless of his actual innocence or guilt, and is either executed on the spot or shipped off to a penal legion to die in service of the Imperium, one way or another. The Month of Shame serves as a grim historical example of what can happen when inquisitorial paranoia intersects with large-scale chaos exposure. After the First War for Armageddon, in which chaos forces led by the demon Primarch Angron invaded the hive world, the Inquisition ordered the extermination of millions of Imperial Guard veterans who had fought against the demonic hordes. The reasoning was simple and terrible. They had seen things that no loyal Imperial citizen should see, things that could corrupt them, or that they might spread to others through word of mouth. Their reward for saving Armageddon was death. The Space Wolves. Chapter famously refused to allow this purge of loyal soldiers who had fought bravely under their protection. The resulting standoff between the Space Wolves and the Inquisition, backed by the Grey Knights chapter, nearly erupted into full-scale war between Imperial factions. The crisis was eventually resolved through intervention from the highest levels of the Imperium, but not before it had demonstrated just how ruthlessly the Inquisition will act when they perceive chaos corruption, real or potential, in Imperial forces. For our Private Kael, these are not abstract historical concerns. This is the reality he must navigate in the days and weeks following his impossible victory. He understands, because every Imperial citizen understands at some level, that the Imperium's mercy is limited and its paranoia is boundless. He knows that his survival and continued service depend not just on avoiding actual corruption, but on avoiding even the appearance of it. This creates psychological pressures that are difficult for those who have not experienced them to fully comprehend. Imagine achieving something genuinely heroic, something that should be a source of pride and celebration, and having that achievement become a source of constant anxiety and fear. Every nightmare, every stray thought, every moment of distraction becomes potential evidence of corruption. The hypervigilance that this produces can be as psychologically damaging as the original trauma. Some soldiers handle this by doubling down on their faith in the Emperor. They spend extra time in prayer, attend every sermon and devotional service available, make public demonstrations of their loyalty and piety. This is a survival strategy as much as genuine faith, a way of demonstrating to any observers that they remain pure and devoted. For some, this performance eventually becomes genuine, the rituals and prayers providing real comfort and structure in a situation that feels increasingly unstable. Others become withdrawn, trying to make themselves as unremarkable and forgettable as possible. They avoid discussing the incident, deflect credit to their squad mates, try to fade back into the anonymity that characterizes most of the Imperial Guard. They understand that while recognition brought temporary glory, being unremarkable is safer in the long term. The Inquisition cannot investigate what it does not notice. And a few, unfortunately, do begin to change in ways that justify the Inquisition's attention. The trauma of the experience, combined with the stress of being under suspicion, creates psychological breaks that manifest in troubling ways. They become erratic, paranoid, occasionally violent. Whether this is actual chaos corruption, trauma-induced mental illness, or some combination of both is often impossible to determine. The end result is the same. They are removed from service, one way or another. But assuming our Private Kyle survives the initial scrutiny, assuming he is found to be free of taint and psychologically stable enough to continue serving, he must now adapt to his new status within the regiment. Because despite any attempts to remain unremarkable, the fact of what he accomplished cannot be erased. He is now one of the few, the incredibly rare few, who can claim to have killed a Chaos Space Marine. And this changes everything about how he is perceived and treated. Within his squad, the dynamics shift in subtle ways. His squad mates look at him differently now. Some with admiration, some with envy, some with an almost superstitious awe. There is a temptation to see him as blessed by the Emperor, touched by some divine favor that allowed him to survive and triumph, where logic suggested he should have died. This can create a sense of confidence in the squad, a feeling that having him present increases their chances of survival. It can also create pressure, as people expect him to replicate his feat or provide some kind of edge in future engagements. The sergeant treats him differently as well. Depending on the sergeant's personality and command style, this might mean giving him more responsibility, assigning him to the more dangerous tasks, because he has proven he can handle them. Or it might mean the opposite, trying to protect their newly valuable soldier, keeping him away from the most dangerous assignments to preserve his life for situations where his experience might be crucial. Neither approach is entirely comfortable for the soldier himself, who mostly just wants to do his duty and survive. Officers up the chain of command now know his name, which for a common private is both a blessing and a curse. It might mean opportunities for advancement, being considered for promotion to corporal or sergeant when positions become available. It might mean being selected for special assignments or detached duty that could lead to better outcomes than dying in a muddy trench somewhere. But it also means being watched, being remembered, being unable to simply disappear into the masses of identical uniformed figures that make up the bulk of the Imperial Guard. His reputation spreads beyond his immediate unit. Other squads, other platoons, other companies within the regiment begin to hear the story, with details that grow increasingly exaggerated in the telling. By the time it has passed through a dozen retellings, the Guardsman who killed a Chaos Space Marine through some combination of tactics, luck, and desperation has become the Guardsman who single-handedly charged a Chaos Champion and struck him down in hand-to-hand combat. The truth is impressive enough, but the human need for heroic narratives ensures that the tale grows in the telling. This creates its own problems. The real Private Kyle, the scared young man who mostly just wants to survive long enough to maybe see his homeworld again, is being overshadowed by the legendary version of himself that exists in the regiment's collective imagination. People expect him to be braver, more confident, more skilled than he actually is. They expect him to have insights into fighting chaos forces that he does not possess. They expect him to be a hero, in the classical sense, when he is simply a survivor trying to make sense of an experience that defied all rational explanation. The psychological impact of this disconnect can be profound. He experiences something that psychologists would call imposter syndrome, the feeling that he does not deserve the recognition he has received, that he is a fraud who will eventually be exposed. He knows that luck played a massive role in his survival and success, but everyone else seems to attribute it to skill or divine favor. He knows that he was terrified throughout the engagement, that he thought he was going to die, that there was nothing heroic about the desperate scramble for survival. But the official version of events, the one that will be recorded in regimental histories and used in propaganda, smooths over all of that messiness to present a clean narrative of heroism and triumph. This is compounded by survivor's guilt, that terrible psychological burden that affects many who survive combat when their comrades did not. The engagement that made him famous likely killed or seriously wounded other members of his squad or platoon. Men he trained with, fought alongside, shared rations and stories with. They are now dead or maimed, while he stands relatively unharmed and decorated with medals. The rational part of his brain understands that their deaths were not his fault, that he did not ask to be the lucky one, that in war people die and survival is often purely random. But the emotional part of his brain struggles with this, particularly when he is being celebrated, while their names are being added to casualty reports and forgotten by everyone except their grieving families. Some soldiers in this position become fiercely dedicated to honoring their fallen comrades. They speak their names in private prayers, make sure their stories are not forgotten, carry tokens or mementos to remember them by. They use their new status to advocate for the fallen, ensuring that their families receive proper death benefits and recognition. This provides a sense of purpose beyond simply surviving, a way to transform their grief and guilt into something positive. Others are crushed by it, falling into depression and self-destructive behavior. They cannot reconcile their continued existence with the deaths of others they considered better soldiers, better people. Some seek death in combat, volunteering for the most dangerous assignments in hope of joining their fallen comrades. Most Imperial Guard officers and commissars are experienced enough to recognize these patterns and try to intervene before a valuable soldier throws his life away needlessly, but they cannot always succeed. The long-term trajectory for a Guardsman who has achieved such notable success is varied and depends on many factors. If he survives the immediate aftermath, if he avoids corruption or the appearance of corruption, if he manages to process the trauma and continue functioning effectively as a soldier, then his career can take several different paths. He might be promoted, moving up through the ranks from private to corporal to sergeant, and potentially beyond. His experience in successfully engaging transhuman enemies gives him credibility when training others or planning operations. His medals and commendations mark him as someone who has proven themselves under the most extreme circumstances. His story becomes part of the regiment's collective identity, a reminder that the Guard can triumph even against seemingly impossible odds. He might be transferred to more specialized units, the recon companies and special operations teams that conduct the most dangerous missions value soldiers who have proven they can keep their heads in life or death situations. His specific experience against Chaos Space Marines might make him valuable as an advisor or consultant when planning operations in areas where Chaos forces are active. He might even be selected for training as a Tempestus, Scion, those elite stormtroopers who represent the Guard's closest equivalent to special forces. Or he might remain exactly where he is, a line trooper in a standard infantry regiment, carrying his medals and his story, but otherwise no different from millions of other guardsmen serving across the galaxy. This is actually the most common outcome, because the Imperial Guard is a vast machine that requires countless ordinary soldiers to function, and even heroic ones are ultimately just components in a much larger system. What does not change, regardless of which path his career takes, is the fundamental fact of what he experienced. He looked into the face of transhuman warfare at its most corrupt and terrible, and he survived. He proved, at least for one moment, in one specific set of circumstances, that the Emperor's faithful can triumph over even the most terrifying enemies. This knowledge shapes everything that follows. In his darker moments, alone on guard duty or lying sleepless in his bunk, he sometimes wonders if he used up all his luck in that one moment. Statistically speaking, he has already achieved something so improbable that the odds of repeating it are essentially zero. Does that mean his death is inevitable now? That the universe is waiting to balance the books? Does that mean every engagement going forward is even more dangerous because he has exhausted whatever divine favor or random chance allowed him to succeed before? These are irrational thoughts, and he knows they are irrational, but they come anyway. The human mind is not designed to process probability in healthy ways when operating under the constant stress of combat. Patterns are seen where none exist. Causality is assigned to coincidence. The randomness of survival in warfare becomes unbearable without imposing some kind of structure or meaning on it, even if that structure is fundamentally illogical. His faith in the Emperor provides some comfort here, though it is a complicated comfort. On one hand, the official dogma of the Imperial cult teaches that the Emperor watches over and protects his faithful, that those who die in his service are martyrs who will be elevated, that victory over the Imperium's enemies is both righteous and inevitable. This should mean that his success was the Emperor's will, a demonstration of divine favor rewarding faith and courage. But on the other hand, the Imperial cult also teaches that suffering and sacrifice are inherently virtuous, that to struggle and die in the Emperor's service is glorious, that ease and comfort are suspicious and potentially corrupting. By this logic, his survival and success might be viewed with suspicion rather than celebrated. Why was he allowed to live when so many died? What makes him special? Is it truly the Emperor's favor, or something darker pretending to be divine providence? These theological paradoxes are not unique to his situation. Every soldier who survives combat while comrades die faces them to some degree. But having achieved something so notable, so improbable, makes the questions more acute and the answers more unsatisfying. He cannot help but analyze the experience, trying to understand it, trying to find meaning in the chaos. Did he do something specific that allowed him to succeed? Some tactical decision or physical action that could be learned and repeated? In most cases, the answer is frustratingly elusive. The engagement happens so quickly, in such confused and terrifying circumstances, that extracting specific lessons is difficult. Yes, he fired his weapon. Yes, he took cover when he could. Yes, he followed his training as best he could manage, while absolutely convinced he was about to die. But millions of other guardsmen do all of these things, and still perish when facing Chaos Space Marines. So what made the difference? Luck seems like the most honest answer, but it is also the least satisfying. Attributing his survival and success to pure chance means accepting that he has no control over his fate, that he could do everything right and still die, that the universe is fundamentally uncaring and random. This is psychologically destabilizing in ways that make combat stress seem manageable by comparison. So he and others like him create narratives. Maybe he was blessed by the Emperor. Maybe his actions, however unexceptional they seemed at the time, were actually the perfect response to the specific tactical situation. Maybe he tapped into some hidden reserve of strength or skill that he was previously unaware of. Maybe. Each of these narratives provides structure and meaning, makes the experience something that can be integrated into his understanding of himself and his place in the universe. The truth inasmuch as there is a singular truth to be found in the chaos of war, is probably some combination of all of these factors. Yes, he was lucky in ways that most people are not. Yes, his training and instincts kept him alive long enough for that luck to matter. Yes, the specific circumstances of the engagement created vulnerabilities in the Chaos Space Marine that could be exploited. Yes, the cumulative efforts of his entire squad contributed to the kill, even if he gets the credit. Yes, the Emperor was watching over him, if you believe in such things, or random quantum probability was on his side, if you prefer a more materialist explanation. What matters, ultimately, is that he survived, and the enemy did not. What matters is that he proved, however briefly and improbably, that Chaos Space Marines can be killed by ordinary humans with standard equipment. What matters is that his story will be told and retold, will inspire other guardsmen facing their own impossible odds, will serve as proof that the Emperor's faithful need not despair even when facing the most terrifying enemies. There are historical precedents for such victories, though they are rare enough to be noteworthy when they occur. Tanith first and only, those ghost-like scouts and light infantry specialists, led by Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt, engaged and defeated Chaos Space Marines on multiple occasions during the Sabbat Worlds Crusade. Their success came not from superior firepower, but from superior tactics, from understanding that they could not meet such enemies in direct combat and must instead use stealth, ambush, and terrain to negate the transhuman advantages. In one particularly notable engagement, Scout Sergeant Owen McCall, who was considered one of the most skilled reconnaissance specialists in the entire Guard, managed to not only survive an encounter with a Chaos Dreadnought, but actually destroy it. A Dreadnought, for those unfamiliar, is a walking tomb, a Space Marine so badly wounded that his broken body is sealed inside a massive mechanical walker armed with weapons capable of destroying armored vehicles. For a single unaugmented human to defeat such an opponent is not merely improbable, it is almost mythological in its implications. The death cause of Krieg, those grim and fatalistic soldiers from a world scoured by atomic fire, have also tallied confirmed kills against Chaos Space Marines over their long and bloody history. Their approach is characteristically direct. They throw bodies at the problem until the problem stops being a problem. A Chaos Space Marine might kill dozens of Krieg troopers, but there are always more Krieg troopers, and each one dies with the same emotionless determination, buying time and creating openings for heavy weapons teams or massed laser gun fire to eventually overwhelm even ceramite armor. The Cadian shock troops, considered among the finest conventional infantry in the entire Imperial Guard, faced Chaos Space Marines repeatedly during the 13 Black Crusades that assaulted their homeworld over 10,000 years. They developed specific tactical doctrines for such engagements, emphasizing combined arms operations, where infantry supported by armor and artillery could create overlapping fields of fire that even Space Marines would struggle to cross. Their success rate was never high, but it was higher than most, high enough that the Chaos Forces learned to respect Cadian troops as genuinely dangerous opponents rather than mere cannon fodder. These historical precedents matter because they provide context. They demonstrate that our Private Kael's achievement, while exceptional and worthy of recognition, is not completely unprecedented. The Imperial Guard does engage and defeat Chaos Space Marines. It happens, not often, not easily, and usually at terrible cost, but it happens. He is part of a lineage of guardsmen who have proven that humanity, even baseline unaugmented humanity, can stand against the post-human and occasionally triumph. This knowledge provides some comfort, though it is balanced by the awareness of just how many guardsmen died in each of those historical victories. For every famous triumph, there are countless unnamed tragedies. For every soldier, like Sergeant McCall, who defeats a dreadnought against impossible odds, there are thousands who die forgotten in muddy trenches, crushed beneath power-armored boots, or torn apart by bolter fire. The survivorship bias in military history means that we remember the victories and forget the vastly more numerous defeats. But still, the precedents exist. They are recorded in regimental histories, in after-action reports, in the personal journals of officers and commissars. They are studied in the Schola Progenium, where future commanders are trained in the theory and practice of warfare. They inform tactical doctrine and strategic planning, and they inspire, because even in the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war and the galaxy burns, humanity needs to believe that victory is possible. Private Kael becomes, whether he wishes it or not, part of this tradition. His name joins the roles of Guardsmen who have achieved the improbable, who have proven that faith, courage, and good fortune can sometimes triumph over superior strength and technology. His story will be used by commissars to inspire their troops, by propagandists to recruit new soldiers, by historians to document the endless war that consumes the Imperium. And what of the man himself? What happens to Private Kael in the years following his moment of glory? The truth is that his story, like that of most Imperial Guardsmen, probably ends violently and prematurely. The attrition rate in the Guard is horrific, with most soldiers not surviving their first 5 years of service. Even heroes, even soldiers blessed by the Emperor and decorated for exceptional valor, are still flesh and blood. They still bleed when shot, still die when hit by artillery, still perish by the millions in the Imperium's endless wars. He might fall in his very next engagement, a stray round from a cultist's autogun, finding him with the same random chance that allowed him to survive his encounter with the Chaos Marine. He might be vaporized by a plasma blast, crushed by a collapsing building, torn apart by alien claws, or die from any of 1,000 other causes that make no distinction between the heroic and the ordinary. War is aggressively democratic in its distribution of death. Or he might survive, beating the odds once again and again and again, becoming one of those grizzled veterans who somehow make it through decades of service. His chest becomes heavy with medals, his uniform decorated with campaign ribbons and unit citations. His face becomes lined and weathered, marked by the scars of countless battles. He becomes a squad leader, then a sergeant, perhaps eventually a lieutenant or captain if he demonstrates the necessary leadership qualities and continues to survive long enough for promotion to matter. In this version of his story, he becomes a mentor to younger soldiers, teaching them the lessons he learned through hard experience. He tells them about the time he killed a Chaos Space Marine, but he emphasizes the luck and the terror rather than the glory. He teaches them that survival is more important than heroism, that the soldier who lives to fight another day serves the Emperor better than the one who dies gloriously but uselessly. He becomes the kind of veteran that every unit desperately needs, the steady presence who has seen everything and can guide others through the chaos of warfare. Or perhaps he is grievously wounded, losing limbs or organs to enemy action, but surviving through the miracles of Imperial medical technology and the grace of the Emperor. He might be fitted with augmetic replacements, mechanical limbs and cybernetic organs that allow him to continue serving. He might be retired from combat duty and assigned to training cadres or garrison duty, positions where his experience is valuable, but his reduced physical capability is less of a liability. He might even, in rare cases, be judged suitable for dreadnought interment, sealed inside a walking tomb, like the Chaos Warrior he once killed. His service extended for centuries beyond natural human lifespan. Or, in the darkest version of his story, the Inquisition's suspicions eventually catch up with him. Perhaps he does begin showing signs of corruption, subtle at first, but growing more pronounced over time. Perhaps he makes a comment or commits an action that suggests heretical thought, and the Watchers who have been observing him since the incident finally decide to act. Perhaps an overzealous Inquisitor decides that the risk he represents outweighs his value, and he is purged along with anyone else who might have been exposed to potential taint through contact with him. In the Imperium, innocence proves nothing, and suspicion is often treated as confirmation. Whatever his ultimate fate, whatever path his life takes after that one impossible moment of victory, Private Jerem Kael is forever changed by what he experienced. The boy who joined the Guard full of naive dreams about glory and serving the Emperor is gone, replaced by a man who has looked into the eyes of transhuman corruption and somehow survived to tell the tale. He carries that experience with him always, a weight that cannot be set down, a knowledge that cannot be unlearned. In the quiet moments, when the guns fall silent and he has time to think, he sometimes wonders what it all means. Not just his own survival and unlikely success, but the larger implications of what he represented. Because in killing that Chaos Space Marine, he proved something important. He proved that the transhuman warriors, whether loyal or traitor, are not invincible. He proved that the ordinary men and women of the Imperial Guard, despite being outmatched in every measurable way, can still triumph through courage and determination and the Emperor's grace. This is not a comfortable realization. It means that the countless deaths of Guardsmen who faced similar enemies and failed were not inevitable. It means that somewhere in the gap between his success and their failure, there exists a difference that matters. Perhaps it was training, or leadership, or equipment, or tactics, or simply luck. But it was something, and that something could potentially be identified, studied, replicated. It means that all those deaths, all that sacrifice, might have been partially avoidable with better doctrine, or better support, or better fortune. This is a heavy burden for one man to carry. He did not ask to be a symbol, did not ask to have his survival used to judge others who died. He was just trying to stay alive, just trying to do his duty and perhaps see another dawn. But the Imperium is relentless in its search for meaning, for lessons, for ways to improve its war machine and achieve victory more efficiently. His experience will be analyzed, discussed, incorporated into tactical doctrine or propaganda, or both. He cannot escape being made into an example, whether he wishes it or not. And so he continues to serve, continues to fight, continues to survive, or not as the Emperor wills. He is Private Jerem Kael of the Cadian 301st, decorated veteran, killer of Chaos Space Marines, and ultimately just another soldier in humanity's endless war for survival. His story is exceptional in its details, but tragically common in its broader outline. Millions of Guardsmen have their own stories of survival against impossible odds, of moments where they should have died, but somehow did not, of victories that logic suggested were impossible. Each of them carries their own weight, their own trauma, their own complicated relationship with the recognition or lack thereof that they receive. Each of them must navigate the same treacherous waters of inquisitorial suspicion, official recognition, and personal psychological damage. Each of them must find their own way to integrate impossible experiences into some kind of functional understanding of themselves and their place in the universe. This is the reality of what happens when a Guardsman kills a Chaos Space Marine. Not the clean glory of propaganda hollows or the simplified heroism of recruitment posters, but the messy, complicated, psychologically fraught reality of having achieved something that should not have been possible and having to live with all the consequences that follow. It is a story of survival and sacrifice, of luck and loss, of faith tested and sometimes broken under the weight of impossible circumstances. In the end, what matters most is not the kill itself, impressive though it was. What matters is what comes after. What matters is whether the soldier can integrate this experience, can continue functioning, can find meaning in his survival rather than drowning in guilt or breaking under suspicion. What matters is whether he can use his unlikely success to inspire others, to teach others, to contribute to the Emperor's cause in ways that extend beyond that single moment of violence. Because in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And in war, what matters is not the individual moments of triumph or tragedy, but the collective struggle of humanity to survive against a galaxy that wants nothing more than to see it destroyed. Every Guardsman who stands and fights, who holds the line against impossible odds, who refuses to break even when facing enemies that should annihilate them, contributes to that struggle. Every act of courage, however small, however doomed, however ultimately insignificant in the vast scale of galactic warfare, matters. Private Kael's moment of glory, his impossible victory over a Chaos Space Marine, is one small candle flame in an ocean of darkness. But it is a flame nonetheless, proof that even in the worst circumstances, even against the most terrible enemies, humanity can still triumph. And in the Imperium of man, where hope is often all that stands between survival and extinction, that proof matters more than any individual soldier's fate. The story ends not with his death or his triumph, but with his continuation. He serves, he fights, he endures. He carries his medals and his memories, his faith and his doubts, his pride and his survivor's guilt. He is shaped by what he experienced, but not defined solely by it. He is a soldier of the Imperium, one among countless billions, doing his duty in humanity's endless war for survival. And perhaps, on some distant battlefield under an alien sky, facing enemies that should not be faced and odds that should not be beaten, he will once again prove that the impossible is merely improbable. Perhaps another Guardsman, inspired by his story, will achieve their own unlikely victory. Perhaps the legend will grow, spreading through the ranks of the Imperial Guard, a reminder that even against transhuman warriors enhanced by dark gods, even against the corruption of chaos itself, humanity can stand and fight, and sometimes, just sometimes, prevail. This is what happens when a Guardsman kills a Chaos Space Marine. This is the price of the impossible. This is the weight of surviving when survival itself defies all probability. And this, ultimately, is the truth of service in the Imperial Guard, that every soldier, no matter how ordinary, carries within them the potential for extraordinary achievement, and that the line between hero and corpse is often nothing more than chance, timing, and the inscrutable will of the Emperor. In the name of the God Emperor of mankind, in service to the Imperium that spans 1,000,000 worlds, these ordinary men and women stand against the darkness. And sometimes, against all odds and all reason, they win. Not because they are invincible, not because they are superhuman, but because they refuse to yield, because they hold faith even in the face of annihilation, and because somewhere in the vastness of the uncaring universe, every once in a great while, the impossible becomes real. If you enjoyed learning about the incredible circumstances where an ordinary human triumphs over transhuman warriors, consider subscribing to the channel. These stories of courage, faith, and impossible odds are what make Warhammer 40k such a compelling universe. Hit that like button if you found this deep dive into Imperial Guard heroism and survival informative, and let me know in the comments, would you want to be the Guardsman who killed the Chaos Space Marine, knowing everything that comes after? Thank you for watching, and remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, but sometimes, just sometimes, there is also hope.